Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what your Forex broker is really doing behind the scenes after you place a trade. So you see a price you like, you click that buy button, and bam, your trade just pops up on the screen. It feels totally instant, right? Almost like magic. But, in that tiny split second, your broker is making a really critical decision, not just about your order, but about how to manage their own risk. And really, that's the heart of the matter. That's the broker's big challenge. Think about it. For every single trade, yours, mine, everyone's, they're suddenly exposed to market risk. Their whole job is basically to juggle the combined risk from thousands of us, all clicking buy and sell at the same time. It's a huge balancing act. Okay, so the traditional kind of old school way of doing this is something called A-book execution. It's super straightforward. Let's say you buy €1,000,000/$. Your broker just immediately turns around and buys the exact same amount from their bank, what we call a liquidity provider, or LP. They're just passing your orders straight through, transferring the risk, and they make a tiny profit on the spread. Simple. One in, one out.
But this is where things get a lot more interesting. What if, say, you want to buy £1,000,000 and at the exact same moment, some other trader somewhere wants to sell £1,000,000? Does it really make any sense for the broker to send two completely opposite trades out to the market? I mean, they just cancel each other out anyway, right?
Yeah, of course not. That would be super inefficient. And that's what leads us to this really clever solution that's at the heart of modern brokerage. It's a process called internalization.
So what is it?
Well, to put it simply, internalization is when a broker basically acts like its own little mini exchange. They're looking at all the orders coming in from their own customers, and they just match the buyers with the sellers right there, in-house. The really important part, the trades never even have to leave the broker's own system.
So yeah, instead of handling every single trade one by one, the broker can just pool them all together. They aggregate all the buy and sell orders for, say, euro/dollar, and then they match them up. And that whole process, that's internalization. Okay, check this out. This is like the perfect scenario. We've got Elsa, who wants to buy 1 million, and we have Eric, who wants to sell 1 million. The broker sees these two orders coming in, sees they're a perfect match, and just nets them out internally in their own book. Boom, done. And look, the liquidity provider over on the right, their book is totally empty. No outside trade was ever needed at all. So why would the broker do this? What's in it for them? Well, it's all about money. By not sending that trade out to a liquidity provider, they save a pretty big cost. They don't have to pay the LP spread. And what does that mean? Yep, more profit for them. But of course, things are rarely that neat and tidy, right? The market's messy. So what happens when the buys and sells don't match up perfectly? Well, that creates a whole new problem for the broker. They have to deal with what's left over, what's called residual risk. Let's just use a super simple example. Imagine the broker is looking at all their clients' trades, and they see 10 million in buy orders for euro/dollar, but only 8 million in sell orders. Okay, simple math, right? They can internalize and match up 8 million of that, but they're still left with a net position of 2 million long. Now they are exposed to the market. And that leftover bit, that exposure, it has a name. That's your residual risk. It's just the net market risk the broker is stuck with after they've matched up every single trade they possibly could internally. So now the broker has a choice to make, a fork in the road. For this leftover risk, they can do one of two things. One, they can just accept it, basically do nothing, and take the other side of their client's trades, betting they'll lose. Or two, they can transfer that risk away. They can hedge it with an external liquidity provider. So how does this all fit into a bigger, more sophisticated strategy? Well, most of the time, brokers are going to choose to hedge that residual risk, and they do it in a really smart, efficient way, through something called aggregation. All right, let's look at this diagram here. Elsa comes in and buys 1 million, but Eric sells 3 million. See the problem? The broker can't fully internalize Eric's trade. So what do? They match Elsa's 1 million buy with 1 million from Eric's sell order. The leftover 2 million that Eric wanted to sell, that's the residual risk. So the broker then hedges that by placing a single 2 million buy order with their LP to flatten their book. Okay, now let's scale this up. In this next example, you can see Elsa's and Ariel's trades cancel each other out perfectly. Great. But then we've got Eric, Jasmine, and Louis. They all have buy orders that couldn't be matched internally. Now, instead of sending 3 separate little trades out to the LP, which would be really inefficient, the broker just bundles them all up, aggregates them into one big hedge trade. Much, much smarter. So, a good question is, how do they figure out the price for that one big trade? They use a nifty tool called VWAP. That stands for Volume Weighted Average Price. The easiest way to think about it is, it's like figuring out the average price of stuff in your shopping cart, but you give more weight to the bigger items. It's just a fair way to find a single average price for a bunch of different trades of different sizes. That VWAP price is what they use to execute their big hedge order with the LP.
Okay, I know. That's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. But she might be wondering, so what? Why does any of this matter to me as a trader? Well, let's get into it.
This right here, this table really shows you everything you need to know about the broker's motivation. Just look closely. It doesn't matter if you win or lose your trade. If they A-book it, pass it on, the broker makes their spread, but they have to give a cut to the LP. But if they internalize your trade, they get to keep the entire spread for themselves. That is a huge financial incentive for them to internalize as much as they possibly can.
All right, so let's just wrap this up with the key takeaways. First, internalization is basically a cost-saving tool for brokers, and it's incredibly profitable for them. Second, for this to even work, they need a really big pool of customers placing lots of opposite trades. And finally, this whole thing explains why your broker might have a minimum trade size before they'll hedge it. It's just not efficient for them to hedge tiny trades one by one. It's much better to wait and bundle them up.
Look, understanding all this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. It's just the business model. It shows you that your broker isn't just a simple gateway to the market. They are an active risk manager, and they're always optimizing their own bottom line. So I guess the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you know the playbook, does it make you look at your broker and maybe even your own trades just a little bit differently?